Merry Christmas and welcome to the TheDimStream. I'm Beverly and this is Alex.
Morning. Christmas. Merry Christmas, everyone. I'm sorry. I'm very tired. It's morning. No,
Morning
I want to go to bed.
Christmas morning to all of you. Well, hopefully, this might not be a very long stream. I have like a bunch more cookies that I need to decorate, so that's what I've been doing for a lot of my day because I'm very particular and slow at it. So yeah, if you're sleepy, hopefully you can go to bed. Not too long from now, because we've got a couple topics to talk about. Before that, as always, first, how have you been? It's been a while. I think I saw you last Friday during the day stream on Unsafe Space, and then you were MIA, and Julia and I were like probably sleeping.
I was definitely asleep then. I barely made it to the time that you guys were streaming before I fell asleep, so I was like, that wasn't gonna happen. But I'm mostly now just tired and congested. So I'm spending I don't know, like right now I'm like really tired and I keep having to take naps and I hate taking naps. Like I cannot explain how much I don't want to take a nap.
I'm not good at them. I can't. Usually.
My body wants it like all the time, but the problem with that is that
she said.
But I hate that because it's like I have shit to do. I'm not a 4-year-old, so I hate having to take naps. But yeah, I'm like really tired right now because I made a pot roast today.
Ooh.
And I played Cyberpunk 2077. This was the first day of my Christmas vacation, actually. So I didn't have to work today.
Oh, yeah. You have an actual vacation.
I'm off from today until next Tuesday.
Nice.
So, well, they gave my job gives the day before. If Christmas falls on a weekend, they give you the Friday off and the Monday off, and then I took both, 2 extra days. Yeah.
Nice. Okay. Yeah, we can do one or the other. But then it's also difficult because then I'm still stressed out about like, well, just because I can, we still have the paper due on Wednesday and I still have the same amount of work to do in that, and the events are all done. So it's like, we don't have enough news. So it's just like trying to figure that out. So I don't, but I also do a lot of baking and decorating and stuff before holidays. So I'm just like, well, I'll be stressed out. That's future Beverly's problem though, to be stressed out about by not working this weekend.
Yeah, I actually I have to do all my work in that time too, in a shorter amount of time. It's not like the work goes away. That's the most annoying thing to me about taking time off is that it's like, then just work harder for 3 days.
Right, yeah, it's not really time off. Oh, whoops.
No.
I think the door is going to play now. I need to turn off the sound and alarms. I think I have to give Elsie, I need to remember to give her medicine after the stream too. She's on different antibiotics now because she's got that bladder infection. So, but then I need to remember to do that every 12 hours. So she's still peeing everywhere, and now she's sneezing. You can see her. There she is. Yeah. And hey, let me tell you about my internet situation. So first, I forgot to mention before the previous one, Net All Over, where they, whatever regulation stuff, I don't necessarily blame them for phone problems because they just use the phone towers. So, but they were the ones who were like, hey, we have to, deactivate your account. But then they were trying to reactivate or add me a new one and charge me. So I had to call them. But even though it was an annoying situation, the hold music on the phone was just Rush's 2112's Overture. And I was like, can't be mad about this. So
That's
I
funny.
forgot that happened. But then now currently my current internet problem is that my download speed must be pretty bad because you keep freezing, and I don't know if I'm freezing because usually the downloads, but the
You're
reason
not
why
freezing at all.
Good. Okay. So I'm just going to have to pretend to know what you're saying. or maybe delayed. But I'm on Starlink right now because AT&T, I use their phone service thing. It wasn't working for several days, and I was too busy to like actually give them, because it was going to be a whole process of calling and everything, and so I just didn't have the time. Finally got around to it and found out that my modem that I use has been blacklisted by AT&T. Not just that brand, the IMEI, that specific my modem has been
God.
blacklisted because it says like the previous owner or the previous account it was used on owes $40,000 to AT&T.
Holy shit.
It's just like, cool. So can I get this unblacklisted? They had to like send it through. I'm supposed to hear back this week. I don't think that's going to happen. And I'm wondering if it's my previous internet service providers who use the phone, like, because it would have been whatever company. And I used that modem, I think, for the last 2 companies I used. So I'm just like, I'm not part of that. I kept paying my bill to them and everything. Like, this is, and I've had this AT&T for a few months now, and they like just like, hey, actually, here's this problem that we've got. So $40,000. So that was interesting. But what was more interesting to me was I was talking to Jay of AT&T, who lives in the Philippines while he's studying medicine because it's cheaper there. And he's from California. His dad's Filipino and his mom is from Chicago. And I was like, I was born in California. I lived in Chicago. I'm half Filipino. So we bonded over those things. And
it's so specifically similar.
Yeah, like what are the chances that we had so many similarities there? So I was really excited about that. He was cool. He appreciated our conversation because I kept asking him like about his life and things. Like he's in his last year of med school before he goes into like the last 2 years of doctory stuff, like the 6 years and 2 years. And he said he appreciated. He said it was a refreshing conversation because 70% of his conversations are just him being yelled at. So I was like, I bet, I'm sure. So then I asked him if he could connect me to Carlos of AT&T because his birthday is on Christmas Eve, and I've been wanting to wish him happy birthday. So, and he was really happy that I remembered his like the other guy's birthday. So he couldn't, like, I had his ID number because Carlos gave it to me, which I was like, that's the first time anyone's ever like given ID numbers
they
like that.
You
and I'm like, I think he wanted me to like contact him. So I tried, but like they can't call. He couldn't like transfer me. So he just had to send him a message and wrote down like, hey, here's this customer that you helped set up before who's like who wanted to talk to you about your birthday, and like had this whole thing and sent a message. I still haven't heard back. It's been a few days. I hope he got the message because I hope he gives me a call because I want to say happy birthday to him. But then and Jay was saying like he hoped that I remembered him because he's like, that was nice of me to remember Carlos. And so I asked Jay when his birthday was, which was November 4th. So everyone else can remember this birthday too. But he asked me when mine was. So yeah, it was just a conversation. I don't know. I just happened to be chatty enough, and I got transferred to this like technical guy, and he was like so deadpan in like this like nasally way, but he would just keep going like when I would like explain stuff. Well, that's I kept trying not to laugh during it because it was just, I don't know, I loved him. Like he seemed like a great character in something. But then even later on, I forget what I was saying, but he was just like, that's so sweet. and I think he meant it, but I think that's just his voice. But I forget what it was that he said was so sweet when I was explaining something. But I think
you
he's
were
just
explaining about trying to contact Carlos for his birthday.
Yeah, I would have. He probably would have been able to hook me up there. And that I didn't even I missed his name though. I do know Jay of AT&T. His supervisor came in and wanted to ask me like how things went, and his name was also Jay. So I thought he was less interested in like personal chatting. Anyway, so I got a new AT&T friend while my modem has been blacklisted. So. It's weird. So that's why I'm on Starlink right now. So the download speed is really spotty, but as long as the upload doesn't kick me off, then we'll see how that goes.
I think you're fine. Sorry,
Cool.
Missy was just giving my hand a bath.
Oh yeah, it's all right. Elsie just is gonna keep sneezing all night, I think.
I haven't
And
heard her yet.
hello. Oh, good. It's not picking up. She's just it's obnoxious because she just goes for like minutes at a time, constantly. Not just like with her infection now. She's just always is like that.
It was funny. Like Lily was doing that once, and I wasn't around, and my friend was in the room with her, and he like texted me. He's like, "Lily is sneezing a lot. Is that okay?" And I was like, "As long as she's not like sneezing like 50 times in a row to where she like can't function, it's fine." And he goes, "Oh, good, because it's adorable, and I want to make sure it's okay for me to laugh at it."
That's like, one of my favorite lines in Gravity Falls, the cartoon. Who Alex Hirsch, the creator, blocked me on Twitter. That's the one I mentioned before. And I talked about that a while back too, because I forget what it was. Something about like the power outages, and I was like, I didn't even know who it was I was responding to, but I like said something, not even like snarky. It was just kind of like, I don't remember, but I was just like, oh, like about forestry management, and like, you know, like burning and stuff too. So and then he blocked me. But I really love Gravity Falls. And one of my there's so many great lines, but one that always sticks out to me is I forget which one. Someone sneezed, and you're like, you sneeze like a kitten. That's adorable. But like anytime there's like adorable, someone sneezes adorably, like you sneeze like a kitten.
They are adorable when they sneeze. They're so cute. I saw this meme. I've seen it before.
Blurry.
It's this.
You keep talking. Sorry, it's just so blurry. I can't get my camera to focus enough.
Oh, it's like it's a wolf. Like and the wolf thinks, maybe I'll get some food at the campfire. What's the worst that can happen? And then like 10,000 years later, they show the dachshunds in the stupid like crochet things, and it's like
a little sweater.
The thing is about dachshunds is they're so adorable, absolutely cute little dogs. Vicious motherfuckers, though. Like
I think I have heard that.
They're badger hounds. They literally have to fight badgers. They have a huge aggressive streak. So like they're very hard to train because they're so freaking stubborn. They're like, no, I don't want to do it. Like I had them growing up. I love them, but they're mean. They're mean little dogs.
Dachshund. I never. It's spelled DACH something S. Is that right?
DACHSHUND, I believe, is how you spell it. It's German.
See, I never connected that. Like when I've heard the word and then I've read it, and I never knew that those two words were the same thing. So that's good to know. Merry Christmas to me.
I know. Well, a lot of people just call them wiener dogs or dachshunds.
Yeah, that's all I really know them as, wiener dogs. So I always have to remember like what kind they are. They're hot dogs.
Yeah. I used to, growing up, I had a brown one, like a red one. Really, that's what you call it, and a black and tan. They were mated, and it was so funny because we used to do this joke where we would put the black and tan one, which was actually my dog Lucy, in a laundry hamper, and then like put the red one in there, like, oh, we're gonna cook this hot dog, and we bring out the black and tan one. Oh, we overcooked it, and we were pretty young. But oh god, those dogs, they were so awesome. I loved both of them so much. That was Lucy and John. They had a few puppies. Lucy was fat and big, beautiful though, beautiful conformation on her. John, the male, was ugly for a dachshund, but absolutely adorable. By ugly, I mean like his conformation was terrible. Like,
what does conformation mean?
Conformation is the typical breed markers you want in a dog. Okay. Like like for dachshunds, there's there's stuff about their jaw, there's stuff about their feet and stuff like that, and like John had terrible conformation. Like his jaw was a little messed up. His paws were like tilted strange, and everything. He was really, really intelligent, like way smarter than Lucy, but for a dachshund, very ugly, but adorable. Like from the human perspective of not giving a crap about whether or not the dog has good conformation, he was so cute. But yeah, he was not what you would consider a pretty dachshund.
See, I guess it helps to not know what breeds are. Like, I'm so bad with dog breeds because I just think like, oh, if it's a cute animal of anything, then they're fine. And again, I didn't even know what a dachshund like the spelling
you
of it.
didn't know
Apparently,
that dachshund, yeah.
I just read them as like dash hund.
Well, I mean, that's the more German pronunciation, I would imagine. Dachshund or something like that.
But I had like the sh sound.
You have
I saw, yeah. Oh, there are a couple. I didn't even see. Mr. Lot, thank you. Saying Filipino power. Yes. Jay and I have bonded over a Filipino. I've been meaning to message you too because I hadn't seen you around in a while. So I wanted to check in. Glad to see you're still alive, apparently, unless someone's just using your account. So we'll see. Man, Beverly has a major AT&T simp train going on. They're all spying on you. They probably are, but you know what? They were nice enough people. I'll let them spy. Winky, winky, woo. Me, sucky, fucky, $5 I from Philippines. So glad she ignores Rumble or would be in trouble for wizard. Like they say we when Judge Lot didn't do anything racist. He just wrote Filipino power, which I guess maybe you could think is like a white power thing, but racist against non-Filipinos. It's a known fact that Filipinos will take over the world. Well, thank you guys, and hello to everyone in chat too. We've ignored you so far, so let me go back through and say hello. So we've got Winky and Judge Lot, or Mr. Lot too. I mean, Johnny Boy, Coley. I don't even, maybe I'm not supposed to say this publicly, but I will anyway. You can yell at me later. I wanted to say thank you to Coley. She gave me oh shoot, I already forget the name of the game. Sorry, I stroked out there for a second. Wildermyth on Steam. So I'm excited to play it once life slows down a little bit, though. But thank you very much. I appreciate it. Because I remember she told me a little about it in the past, but it's been a while too. But it looks fun. Looks questy, even like a D&D sort of look to it to me, at least from the little I saw. Who Med the Simple Thinker? Game. It is spelled. How is it spelled? Wildermyth. So WILDERMYTH. So I will once I play it, then I'm sure I'll tell everyone about it. This is the one game that I continue to play. Who else is there? Anyone else? Wallace Williams, hello. Judge Lot is on here too, huh? No, I am very friendly with the IT guys, Judge. Dash Hound. He says Winky says it's Dash Hound. Sato, hello. Sato. Okay, we're gonna get into Guardians of the Galaxy because he posted in Discord that he said either skip it or just have low expectations of the Guardians holiday thing. So we'll get into it. So we already know that he did not like it, but we'll get into that. I guess we'll start. Is that the first thing? Yeah, I guess we'll start that now. Yeah. Oh, but let's do some shameless self-promotion. Alex has a YouTube channel. Let me post a YouTube. I have it listed in my notes. It's just shameless self-promotion.
Oh, you actually have like notes to do things?
Sometimes. Oh, I write down notes for like the show for the movies that we watch too, and then I just have like links up above. But sometimes I just make snarky notes to myself.
Well, Steam will not work for me right now on the browser. It's like, nah, screw you.
Screw you. If you guys aren't on Rumble but want to watch Rumble, that's where our Friday streams are, which I don't think we told you, Alex, because you were gone and we haven't talked about it since then. Juliet and I were like, let's not do next Friday because I was I have my family thing. So tomorrow, to everyone else, we're not streaming tomorrow night. I love you
All right.
guys, but it is I have my family dinner and stuff, so I just want to not have to rush and stuff. It'll be late enough, but I don't.
Yeah, I had no idea that you weren't gonna do it.
Haven't chatted with you in a bit, so this is how I get to do it on air. Get to learn everything fresh. These are real reactions we have on this channel.
I'm like, okay, I guess I'll sleep instead.
Yeah, get to sleep.
Yeah.
I just, it's a thing of like, I like, part of me likes to have things like later in the day where I don't have to do, but then I get stuck in my head where I'm like, oh, I can't go to the zoo today because I have to work in 6 hours. So I have this like thing where like I get like too anxious about stuff that happens way late, and I think I'm getting better about it, but then there are some times where I'm just like, I want to not have anything else going on so I can just relax and not worry, which is the same thing with work now too, where it's like I'm still going to be anxious because it's like when I get back to work it's going to be hell, like I'm going to be struggling.
Yeah.
Try not to think about it for a while.
You know what's like sucks? So on the first, I bought a gym membership.
First day of Christmas. Oh yeah.
And I went there to the gym that day, and then things got kind of busy, and that was okay. But then, and I was gonna go, and then the little C hit my house. So I haven't been back since the first. That's already the and it's already the 22nd, and I'm like, this is so annoying. You just reminded me of it because like my plan is to go around like 4 o'clock most days. And it's like, this totally derailed everything. I paid like money for this, and I've only been able to go one time.
Yeah.
Like,
I do not like paying money for anything. So I like we said before too, I like having, it is nice to have the equipment and things, but I just do like weight, ankle and wrist rate weights and dance essentially.
I really, really like treadmills and bikes and ellipticals, and there is no room in my home for that.
Yeah.
So and then there are some weight machines that like you can't really get. You know, there's like the assisted pull-up machine where you can put your like knees on it so that like you can start building up strength.
Yeah.
And then the gym I joined has a pool and classes if I wanted to go to those, but I'm not much of a like a joiner
people person.
Yeah.
I don't like being part of groups.
Not really, no.
Yeah,
like,
no,
I mean, I think that would be obvious from like, you know, just my attitude that I'm just like, no, I don't want to be part of some, like, I don't like going to parties. Like, I really don't. So
I love one-on-one conversations.
Me too.
And then like, and it can go up to like 3 of us. That's like Juliet, you and me, and then maybe 4. Like the more it gets, like the more uncertain I am about things. But
I can have like if it's 3 or 4 people, but 2 of them I already know, like it's much more comfortable.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
You know, which is why I can handle the occasional levity because I know you, Juliet.
Yeah. And I will say, okay, I promise, guys, we're gonna get into the movies. Sorry, I haven't talked to Alex in a while.
Yeah, that's true.
Like,
we haven't.
She's been so sick.
I have.
But I just remember like it was like with Unsafe Space stuff. There was conventions or something near you. I forget what they were. But then Carter was like,
America Fest was.
Oh sure, yeah.
Was it? Like, you know what's weird? I don't like parties of like 20 people, but conventions and shit like that, I don't mind. I especially don't mind talking in front of a large group of people. But I was a teacher, so it's kind of hard. Like, you can't not be okay with that and teach. Like, and also when I was a kid, I used to go to the mall by myself and walk around all the time. I liked the idea of all those people around that I wasn't necessarily talking to. Like, I don't know. I liked it.
Well, that's what, like, I'm fine with performing, and like when you kind of have like, oh, here's this huge audience, but then you're just on stage. It was like when the people for improv and stuff, you have to talk to the audience and do that. I'm like, I never liked having to talk to them though. Can either be like talking with a group off stage or just be on stage performing. But then I'm like, I don't want to have to talk to everyone. But so Carter talked about how like, oh, you know, like none of us is really like wanting to like be the social person of like going out, so like maybe we don't go to the fest. But I am learning, I think, that I am okay with this now because I have to like mingle and stuff when I'm going to all these events and things, and now I'm just like chit chatting. And I think improv has helped me because what I do is I just continue. I like make fun of myself all the time though too. Like I talked about like this to this one woman at this like music recital place at this conservatory, and there were like snacks afterward, and she said something about like, oh, like the pumpkin spice is really good, and I'm like, I just go to all the events for the free food, and so like that. And so because she's like, it's hard to choose between them, like I probably won't choose between them, take one of each, like one of everything. But then I found out she like runs some sort of drug and awareness or drug and alcohol awareness thing within like the county and all this stuff. So then she was like trying to network with me when she found out I was a reporter and not just some like pig. But then, and I think it was earlier in that day too, we had the representative for our area because like the boundaries moved, and I went to the Wreaths Across America that they had one nearby at the local cemetery. So I covered that, and I was talking to him afterward, and they had the Boy Scouts like hanging wreaths to represent like the military people and blah blah blah. And then he asked me, was I ever in the Girl Scouts? And I said, yeah, I think when I was like really young, I did it for like a couple of years. And then he said, Scouts are good for like learning life skills and all that kind of stuff. And I said, yeah, I probably should have stuck it out longer because I feel like I have no life skills and I'm just barely functioning. So it's just like, I feel like this blend. I think when I was a reporter before, it was like more nervous of trying to be more professional and stuff. And now I'm like, I'm just like more friendly and chatty, and like I can get the work done. But then I feel more okay with like being casual about stuff.
I think they're gonna be more willing to talk to you then.
That's what I feel.
You're kind of putting yourself out there, like as you know, like showing your underbelly essentially. So they're not gonna look at you as like an enemy or something.
Yeah. No, and I think that seems to be the case for like everyone. When I think what people have told me that like I think they open up pretty easily to me because I'm already pretty like open about a lot of things, and so and I think AT&T people where I'm just like, hey, let me ask questions and I'll make jokes and that. So
another vibration.
Oh my gosh, thank you. Let me also say, Judge Law, you tagged twice. I like this. I don't actually say his name on stream. I call him the Ginger on here, but Judge Law doesn't. But I saw I mentioned it when you set it up above though too. I have told the Ginger about these people because I get excited, and then he's just like, "Are you friends with him now?" I'm like, "I hope so. I hope we're best friends." Because I've been writing about it. Winky Winky. Writing on my journal. Buy Miss Alex a drink with this. Oh, okay. You're saying, is that for me to buy her a drink? I think he's asking me to ask you out on a date, Alex. Now, Judge Lot, what are you going to say about that? With Alex. Did you guys hear anything about the JFK files that were released? I did not.
I asked about it and then never got a response, but apparently what I'm like picking up is that the CIA admitted to being involved in JFK's death or something.
Whoa.
Yeah, like the thing is though, this is what I keep thinking about all this shit is that it's like I don't trust the CIA. They literally trade in lies and
some of them are just lying about this for something.
So like nothing they say do I believe for half a second. Like even things they talk about old stuff. I'm like, you're probably just lying again. It's sort of like knowing someone with mythomania, and like every time they open their mouth, you're like, okay, what bullshit is gonna come out this time? That's how it feels like with the CIA.
Grew up with a best friend like that.
You do. Yeah, and you know.
I have, like all the time. Where it's just like, okay, sure. Like we're best friends, but okay.
Like I feel like that's a writer's best friend because that writer gets to go, you know, like all these interesting stories.
Yeah. Oh. And everything's an interesting story too. My modem owes $40,000 to AT&T. It's so obscure. The government already admitted there was a conspiracy in Kennedy's death during the Second Commission in the late 70s, and they sealed the files for 75 years. Wow. Huh. Okay. I don't pay much attention. And this stream is not about the government stuff, though, either, though. Like, politics and things. This is on YouTube. I don't want to get banned, guys. Judge Locke, come back on a Friday, or on Rumble on Friday. And tell us. Okay.
Well, let's talk about the movies.
Guardians of the Galaxy holiday special. Zato was not a fan. I thought it was adorable.
It was okay. There were parts of it that made me laugh.
I understand why people might be critical of it, because I'm watching through all of like the super cheap. My bar is so low for Christmas movies. Like, so I'm biased here because one of my favorite ones is 12 Dates of Christmas with what's her name from Just Friends with Ryan Reynolds from I don't really like that movie, but I like her in 12 Dates of Christmas, and that's just a cheesy thing on Hulu I watch every year. I watched the two Princess Switch movies. I need to watch the third one with Vanessa Hudgens. So my bar for Christmas movies again is really, really low. But I get that it was kind of like it's not the normal Guardians thing. But I think I like seeing big heroes and stuff in, because it's an improv thing. You one of my favorite forms of improv is the tag game. So you have like whatever is going on with the scene, and like, oh, like here's these two monsters or whatever, like they're fighting, or a superhero or something like that, and you tag them out, and you take so the other person, you tag someone out, the one that's still in the scene is the same character, but now the new person stepping in changes the scene with that same character. So now maybe you have like these two monsters fighting, but now the monster's at a grocery store in the checkout line. So then like, how do you interact here? And then like, if you do a tag run, like that monster might keep going through and like, oh, you can't afford your apartment, now you're getting kicked out. And now like, so it's just like, it continues. So I love seeing characters that you're like, oh, we recognize you from this kind of scenarios all the time, and then you get plopped down into like something different and like something that's like less heroic. So just generally, I love that. But I love Drax. He is like my favorite. And Drax and Mantis together, I thought they were a great duo to watch, just kind of like bumbling through the film.
I had a problem with them in Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 because they kept laughing at all their own jokes, and it was annoying to me because I was like, it's not funny just because you guys think it's funny. Like, in fact, that kind of undercuts any of the comedy to me, and they did it again in the special, and I was like, and that kind of bothered me. But there were jokes that landed hardcore for me, like this Peter Quill going, "It's not a present, it's human trafficking."
I love
Kevin Bacon made me laugh a lot.
Yeah. I mean, I loved like the silly lines too. What was it? They where like the candy cane thing, and Drax is just like, I don't get my little green man or whatever, but you get to keep your red and white man, and Mantis their candy cane. She's like, how can you possibly think this is a man? And I don't know, like that just cracked me up because like, why? It's a candy cane, like that doesn't look like any sort of humanoid figure at all. And so it's just like, I don't know, his character is fun because he's like dumb and kind and not evil, but like he loves like his whole thing is like killing and stuff too, though. So I really like him as a character. I think he's so fun.
I did have a question, because there's that point where Mantis asks, "Do you think you could throw me over the gate?" And before she even finishes saying it, fucking Drax throws him, and it was funny. But then during the chase sequence, she's jumping like as far and as high as Drax, and I'm like, why did you need him to do that? Like, that you could have just made that jump. Like, it was, I thought that was like a little shoddy maybe, but
I was also bothered by why everyone was like so weirded out by the idea of aliens and stuff. Like at this point, you know that they exist and they're out there. Like, so I can see maybe being afraid, like when they see the spaceship, like, are we being invaded kind of thing. But even Kevin Bacon was there, everyone's just like blown away, and Kevin Bacon had no concept of like that they were inhuman people. And I was bothered by that reaction. Like, you can't, after all of the history of the
Oh,
MCU, have
I
this
know.
reaction anymore.
No, you
You
can't.
know that. And then even when he like comes out of like the trance thing and is on another planet, like, yeah, that's jarring. But again, you just had like 5 years of stuff happen, like whether you were part of the blip or like you just had to experience the like, you know, aliens exist and you've seen superheroes, you've seen all these things. So it was just like he
Yeah,
was
it shouldn't
too
it shouldn't be a
jarred.
shock response. It should be a fear response because
Yeah,
they
yeah.
should associate aliens, especially with possible death
Yes, yeah.
of the history of the
So
MCU.
yeah, he
You
was too
should,
confused.
yeah.
Yeah.
I did appreciate though when Rocket said, "We're not gonna hurt you," and he goes, "That's a talking raccoon." Like, totally, yes, that is the absolute correct response upon seeing Rocket Raccoon for the first time, and like immediately Rocket, "I'm gonna kill you," and he like leaps forward
Yeah.
because he hates when people call him a raccoon. Um, so I liked that moment too. But yeah, I don't know. I'm a bigger fan of Rocket and Peter than I am of Drax and Mantis. Uh,
And I bet
so
most people are. But they're the
I'd
main
rather
ones.
watch them.
But I think that's what, and I was kind of disappointed. Part of me is disappointed to see less of Quill, Star-Lord. But at the same time, I also can appreciate like, oh, when you in the main story, you get to see like the main parts of it, and then the others who are always kind of like side characters, you don't really get as much a spotlight. I like sometimes being able to see like their perspective, having again like having a special like this or any other situation where you kind of get to just have them up front and then like Quill in the background. So like I get torn in between where I'm like, but like Quill's the star for a reason, but like everyone loves him, so like when he's like, you want to see that, but at the same time I'm like, okay, I am interested in seeing what happens when they're alone and like you don't have like the main characters in something.
I like what Wallace Williams says. It's snark
Snark
versus
versus
derp.
dirt.
Because yeah, like Peter and Rocket are much more snarky characters,
Mm-hmm.
and Drax and Mantis are much more like buffoons. I'm not a
Yeah.
huge buffoon fan though, so and
See,
if I'm
that is
gonna watch
fair.
buffoons, I would like them to be counter to a straight man, I guess.
That's
And
helpful too. But I think but it worked for me, and I don't know, and I agree with you though. Like anytime I write stuff, or even I kind of default into that when I'm just hanging out with people. I will either be like the straight man, the deadpan person, if someone else is more bubbly. But if they're going to be more like deadpan or something, then I will be the more bubbly one. And it's not really a conscious thought. I just kind of fall into like, oh, how do we have like this balance? And that it's like a natural reaction for me. So. And then when I write stuff too, like it's nice to have that balance. But somehow the two buffoonery characters, it worked. And I think it worked for me in like a special. I think if it were constant, like all the time though, because you have that in like cartoons and stuff, maybe like Beavis and Butthead or something though. Like I don't think I would like, I never really got into that show. But maybe that's something where like, oh, over a long period of time, over an episode, like I don't know if I could handle like both Dumb and Dumber, like characters like that, like constantly. But I don't know. Maybe it's just like Drax really cracks me up. He just it's my type of guy. So like I laughed a lot. Beverly identifies as a straight man. Yeah.
you know what?
Thank you.
The flashback things are done in
That's
rotoscope,
cute, Wendy.
and I had thought maybe it was because it didn't look that good,
Was
and
it rotoscope?
it was rotoscope,
Oh,
and
okay.
and like the problem is that it didn't look shitty enough to be obviously rotoscoped, or uh so much better than rotoscope as to seem like good animation.
Yeah, that's
So it
fair.
had this like awkward quality to it that like if you don't know what rotoscoping is, it's gonna put you off. You're probably gonna think, why do they cheap out on the animation sequences? And it's like, it's because it's the best rotoscope that you can do, essentially, is what that was.
I didn't know why they did it though. At first I was wondering if the whole thing was going to be animated when it started. I didn't know if it was just because it was easier to make younger versions of them in cartoon, or like just cheaper than having to, but it was like you have like this big set elsewhere. So I didn't understand the reason that
I
they
think it's
did the
because of,
flashbacks.
like, James Gunn was probably trying to go for a nostalgia feel on
Okay.
that, because it like they did a lot of rotoscoping in the 80s. Like a lot of
Oh,
major
okay.
production cartoons were actually done in rotoscope in the 80s. So I think that's his reasoning. It's the kind of thing that he would be like, oh, wouldn't it be so cool if we did this 80s method, like it's his kind of thing. And I don't always agree with James Gunn's decisions, which, by the way, a lot of people are talking about James Gunn right now because he's going to be the head writer for the new DC
I heard.
movies,
Mm-hmm.
and met with Henry Cavill and said he doesn't want Henry Cavill to be Superman. He's going to hire
Oh, is
a
that why
younger
I
actor.
heard? I thought I heard
Yeah,
that Henry Cavill might not be Superman. I didn't know why.
he's
I
not going
heard
to
these
be
things
Super.
separately.
Yeah,
Wow.
because they met and he wants a younger Superman. And it was funny too because, like, people are like, "Oh my god, that's so terrible. It's so awful." And it's like, I love Henry Cavill, absolutely love him, but none of those titles with him as Superman are good movies. Like, not a
Really?
single one of them is good, especially Justice League. So to me, I'm sort of like, I would rather have a good, well written story about Superman with a different actor
Different.
than have one of my favorite actors be in another shitty movie.
But then I guess
I,
the question is, like, is there a way to do both? Like, is that the problem with, like, oh, well, can't he just write a good movie with Henry Cavill? And I'm not saying he should. I'm just, that might be what the critics are going to respond with.
most fans are saying fire James Gunn. That's what
Yeah,
they're calling
I
for.
bet. But
And
that's what the ginger was telling me about. Like, oh, I love the Guardians. Like the Guardians have, there's such an eclectic group of characters though too. Like they're all, because like even the part where Nebula at the end, like they're doing the Christmas music, and Nebula, who's this like bitchy person and a badass, she's just like trying to like dance, but it's like super awkward. But she's like really attempting, and I thought like it was a quick shot. I'm like, that's hilarious. And I just like seeing again, like, here are these characters thrown into like, oh, what do you do when you're not like saving the world or destroying the world or whatever it is. And so then the ginger is like, yeah, that's why they have James Gunn taking over the DCU now, because like he's gonna make the world more fun.
I mean, the DC movies have been so grim and so actually visually dark. They've not been very good. Like,
Yeah.
it's like, it sucks to say. Like, but Shazam was like the most fun they had, and it was a fun movie.
God,
But
stop getting so blurry.
but
You keep talking.
okay. But I'm like, I'm okay with this idea of scrapping it because it was so badly done anyway that I don't care anymore. I'm like, just starting it over.
I don't think I've ever really watched, maybe a couple DC. I don't even know. I can't even think of
Well, and then
one.
the Suicide Squad was the only like actual like good movie that they made in it, and then
I
that's
haven't
why they
seen that one.
decided
That was James Gunn, right?
that was James Gunn. That's why they're
Yeah,
doing
but I
it.
haven't seen
And
it.
I
I
don't.
saw the bad one the one that you hate.
Oh God, it's not a good movie.
I liked it okay, but I also never watched any of the other ones, and I don't know the characters that well. I just thought like, oh, that's neat. Hey, JDA. So that means he didn't go into the city tonight. I guess he said he might show up if he wasn't going into the city. Sean,
Stevie
thank you for
J
letting me know.
mentions that Henry Cavill plays Warhammer, and that's actually Henry Cavill's next project. He's executive producer on a Warhammer TV show that is going to be on Amazon. The thing is, though, is that like a lot of people have said that means it's going to be shit. The problem with that is that, I mean, The Terminal List is a good show, and that was Chris Pratt being executive producer and having a say in the things. Executive producers don't have to take part in making major decisions, but they have that clout if they use it. And I think Henry Cavill has had enough of some of his favorite things is being a part of a project.
Because I forgot he's a nerd. Yeah, he's a huge.
He's a nerd,
geeky
and
nerd.
I think he's tired of it. After he left The Witcher, I'm pretty sure he's just sick of projects being awful. So, and that's why he's taking his executive producer role now, is because he wants something to be actually, decent.
Well, if he's not going to do Superman, does that mean are they going to potentially bring him back for The Witcher? Or is
he left The Witcher. He left The Witcher because he. I mean, the problem with The Witcher is that the writers who ran it hate The Witcher.
Yeah,
he loves
okay.
The Witcher.
I didn't know if that was I couldn't remember if we speculated on that or if that was a real thing. Because then the official thing was he couldn't do both, or he was doing Superman instead of The Witcher.
No.
But it's more he chose to leave because he didn't he's probably some semblance of based.
Yeah. I mean, he's one of the people who said someone was complaining, people were complaining about Superman titles, I believe it was. And someone had asked him a question about fans and, shouldn't they like these things? And he basically said, no, they don't have to. Our fans don't owe us their eyes and their adoration for our projects, essentially is what he said. And it's yeah, that's pretty based actually, but it's saying that right now one of the number one things that's going on in entertainment is that fans are being attacked by the corporations and the knee pad wearing fans. So not saying that fans suck for not liking something is pretty based at this point.
Yeah, that's fair. But yeah. You would think it doesn't mean that much, but in today's world, yes, it does. Oh, JDA got bailed on, huh? Well, I'm
Sad
not surprised. So I would bail on you too. So, yeah. Did Quill have sex with Nebula? Not that I know of.
I don't
Joker
so.
was Taxi Driver. Watchmen, V for Vendetta, or are we just talking DC capes?
It was mostly that was the Capes movies. Joker is actually not part of the DC movies.
Yeah, wasn't it a separate thing?
It was a completely separate thing. I love Joker. Joker is the problem is that I can never watch it again. It's too hard to watch that movie.
Oh, yeah. Okay. I think that's what people they didn't like the criticism of mental health problems though too, because everyone's to say having mental health issues is totally okay. But I think that's why I had people who didn't like it. But I just there's something about say we've talked about this before, but something that I like about this kind of psychopath people like Alex from A Clockwork Orange, Joker. I don't know why, but I'm I like watching movies like that.
I like those movies. I think they're usually really well done and everything. It's really hard for me to watch a person who is terrible the whole way through. Even if I have sympathy for them, watching the pain of that is really hard for me. I can appreciate the beauty of it and the well-crafted story and the great performance and everything, but I will probably not watch it again. I like Raging Bull. I think it's a beautiful movie. It's very well performed. I'm never watching it again. I just can't. And I feel that way about Joker. I feel unless I was doing something I was writing about it or making a video about it, I would not watch it again.
I actually have only seen it once in theaters, so but it emotionally it stuck out to me that I just remember enjoying it. I only remember vague stuff now of it, but I'm wondering if it's a rise to power thing too, or something not necessarily big power, but just something where they because I'm thinking, because I like it with, if you've seen the Lorax, like the
I hate that
whatever, the
movie.
commuter animated one with the musical. I love the music, but then like I get like the movie itself isn't. But in the song "How Bad Can I Be," which is one of my favorite ones, and that one, I don't know, like, oh, like that, I like watching the one slur, like he's like, oh, I'm becoming the bad guy now, and so something about that is always just really intriguing to me. You guys still need to all watch Doctor Horrible, but there's a song where NPH sings "A Brand New Day," and that one's just kind of about him sort of like, yeah, I'm going to step up and be more evil. And so I'm not sure if it's the evil part or just like the power, but something about it that I was just like, yeah, okay, I'm into this. This is hitting me in the right spot. I rewatched all of and watched with the newer episodes, Rick and Morty, because Motown and I've been watching that.
Finish that show. Like,
Oh,
I don't know.
Everything is so good.
It's hilarious. I 100% agree with that. But for some reason, like, I cannot get myself to sit there and watch this fucking show.
Really,
Like,
that's so weird. I was so meta, and they talk about how meta it is, and but something I love Rick. Like I love, like, even though he's this big asshole and stuff, but again, it's like here's this powerful person, and then who's just kind of like, yeah, I can do anything, and but like he's also terrible, but there's something about him, and then I'm like, yeah, I love this guy.
I like Rick. And like I said, like I end up I don't watch the show in order. What happens is, like, I'm with my friend and he turns it on, and so I end up watching some random episode I've never seen before.
Yeah.
And it makes me laugh. Like I'm not gonna say that that's not true or anything. That it's not well written, well done. It's just I can't get myself to fucking watch it. I don't get
That's
it.
so interesting. It's weird. Interests me because I don't get it. Like I can just sit and I'm like, oh, let's watch another one. Let's watch another one. Oh, it's like 2 a.m. but I should go to bed, but I want to watch more. But then at the same time, like they're and I think I was reading something about that the other day too, about like because they had oh, shucks, what's his name? He kind of like, I guess made a bigger deal. Joseph Campbell, Hero's Journey. So that like I guess he kind of popularized it more. Is it Joseph Campbell? He was a writer, died in the 80s. Joseph Campbell, 1904 1987. But I think let's see, best known work, The Hero with a Thousand Faces, discusses his theory of the journey of the archetypal hero shared by world mythologies. So they had him as like a ghost or like a thing in an episode. But I think the reason that they're calling it out is that like Rick and Morty, so like they are saying like we don't need to do like the same heroes like that because a lot of times people make the hero as like you're a good person who's trying to do the right things. So like Rick and Morty really like, kind of like, no, they're just people, and like they have all kinds of flaws. And I think what I was reading was that like they, a lot of times with heroes now and in stories, they kind of make them heroic, and that they just the part like they're not flawed in like irredeemable ways. But then you have like Rick, who was super flawed, and he like is kind of irredeemable in different way, or like even when he tries and he fails, and like it just ends up like
that episode where they take the worst parts of themselves, the flawed part of them out of them, and they're worse off for it. I think that's probably the best episode to talk about, like in regards to that, because it's like they're not on their journey if they're not completely who they are. And that episode, like, they literally have to get themselves back together to be able to keep going forward, because they're like that spa episode is really funny. I think also because of the fact that at the beginning that you see like a flash forward version of one of their adventures, and at the end they're just both miserable and like screaming. And it's so funny because it's like, yeah, you guys need to take a break. taking a break doesn't mean though that you rip your flaws out of yourself.
Right.
It's just weird.
And it was what they saw as toxins too. So they're like, oh, hey,
Mhm.
the parts of me that I find as flaws are taken out. But then then you realize it's, I guess, a good way to learn that, oh, but having these things does help make you who you are. And like,
Yeah.
so they're just, it gets really real. Like a lot of the show, like that can be really funny and really stupid, but it gets be really dark and real and emotional. And so I just think it's so well done in this like stupid way, but like really smart too. And I think
Well,
it's
I
really
think the show is very intelligent, incredibly intelligent. And it's one of those things where, like, a lot of people have this idea that to be smart and to prove a point, you have to be upstanding and polite and all this civilized bullshit. And I hate that attitude because I think that's not true.
civilized.
And like, you can swear, you can make jokes, you can not take
Yeah.
yourself too seriously and still make a really cogent, intelligent point about life. And I feel like Rick and Morty does that.
Yeah.
Often they make really great points about life, and
He's burping his way through the
yeah,
sentence.
I know. And that to me is great. That's brilliant. I love that so much more than like people who take themselves too seriously. I definitely need like the Clockwork Orange like
Yeah.
thing to, and like to force me to watch all of Rick and Morty in a row, like just like every episode. I don't know what's wrong with me because, like I said, I do think the show is
you're
brilliant.
always speaking highly of it, but then,
I know.
But I guess that's what
negative to say.
I will love movies and think like they're really great, but also only watch them like once. And because I'm not a big movie person, but like I will rewatch like movies for Christmas time or other things like multiple times though. But movies I'm like, I love this movie. I probably only saw it like once or twice. So I don't know why I do that either though. But Tucker and Dale style. Oh, okay.
I have a friend who gets into a movie habit jag where he will watch the same movie multiple times a day for 2 weeks. So, and it's always the same ones like Ghostbusters.
Why?
I don't know.
Multiple times a day for like, but if you're watching like the literal same like Ghostbusters one multiple times in one day for
like he'll be doing other things, but it'll be on like the Red Violin.
Don't get that's so strange to me.
I know, like I'm not in the room though, so like I don't care.
Really.
Who was the other one? Oh brother, we're out thou. That's a big one. But they're not bad movies. I don't think the choices are wrong. I just don't. I wouldn't want to watch a movie that often.
When I worked in the video store, that you had to, you kind of like you'd let that play through in the background for like the whole whatever night, or maybe you'd swap it out or something. But like usually, you're like that's the only time I'd be like rewatch something is that I had to for work when I worked there. JDA says that my good friend Tim Pool is streaming. If you were really a good friend, you would have known that he started streaming 2 hours ago. So he's probably almost done. But he's just saying that because he needs to suck up because he's going on Tim Pool on January 19th.
Oh,
what is that? 1, 2, 3, 4 weeks from now. During our live stream, so that's rude. I'll have to watch the first hour of it then.
You have to mention us.
yeah, like just right now, go watch this instead. No, but I'll let's check out when JD is on Tim Pool before the stream. Start at 8, an hour beforehand. Okay. Anyway, I think we should talk about once you actually watch the Rick and Morty, we'll go we'll talk through each season or something.
You'll have to pick one of the weeks to say this is what we're talking about Rick and Morty.
10 episodes.
So that I will watch it.
If we do it like one season at a time, it's 10 episodes. So then you can maybe prepare like maybe once a month we do Rick and Morty like season 1
until I'm done.
Yeah.
Like I said, I think this is a brilliant show. I don't know what's wrong with it.
Yeah. It's so
like
we'll just watch it on air. Like we'll just
really. Like I'm literally like playing episodes of The Mentalist and not even like watching it. Like I'm like reading or making dinner as it
Yeah.
plays.
Um,
I don't give a shit about it, even though I've never seen it.
back to the professionalism thing too, or as far as like trying to give, good concepts and stuff, like having to be formal. I really, and I guess that kind of goes back to what I was saying earlier, where like I do find like being more casual and just kind of like when I'm working and talking to people, like that makes it a lot easier. Because I think for me to just I always I don't like I like skipping more like formalities of like introducing. I don't even I'm not even good at introducing myself. I usually just jump into like talking to someone as if we already know each other. Um, and then like, oh yeah, like this is my name, here's my name. But yeah, like I think I like I think it's easier to get information and stuff too from someone when I feel like, oh yeah, like they're approachable enough that like I can or like relatable somehow.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of like not to say that I can't get it from others, but I don't know. I've said it too, like president wise. Like I think when I was younger, like oh yeah, you want someone who's going to be appropriately the personality is going to be the right type of like I'm the leader of a country. But like for all of Trump's flaws and stuff too, like I thought it was great. Like I thought him being like so real and brash and stuff, it was just kind of yes, I get it. I understand criticisms of everything else politically, but just saying personality wise, I'm okay with that. Like as someone who's just like, hey,
I am 100% not okay with like ultra civilized, polite type people. Like, like they're almost all of them in politics. They'll smile while they're spitting in your face. Like their words are pretty. Their words are like everything they're supposed to be in a polite society, but their actions are almost always the worst possible thing you could imagine, getting people killed. So I'm like, I don't trust people who are that like clean and
mhm.
polite.
Who
I
have no flaw or like because then you know that they just have their skeletons in the closet too. That like, oh, you don't know us. Like if you're in politics or something and you don't know anything that's wrong with them. Yeah, I don't trust that. You're right.
Well, and that's the thing is that they didn't like Trump because he didn't play that game. And it's like
Mhm.
I but the people like Trump because he didn't play that fucking game. Like that's the thing is that I would much rather have someone who is a little dirty sometimes. Like is makes some off-color jokes, swears every once in a while.
I will
Like
trust them way more, or at least I can know like they can trust you about some things and know that like, oh, I still need to not trust you about other things, just like with any other human that there is, especially someone in charge. Like you
yes.
shouldn't think that everyone's perfect because they're not, and like that's the same thing that I say a lot too about just like idealizing people that like when you put them on a pedestal, and I'm prone to that. Like like that's the kind of thing that I have to like try and adjust because then, especially like it happens like, oh, I learned something that like, oh, that shatters that idealization, which is helpful though. They're just like, oh my god, like I can't believe them, and they disavow them completely, and like, oh, now they're the enemy. But it helps me to be like, oh yeah, you're human, and I shouldn't have been doing that anyway. And like, yeah, I can still like some of the points you make, maybe like you as a person, but you're also going to have bad points. Or like go through like Jordan Peterson is someone who's like kind of a hot topic now, or like he's having bad takes on things but has good information, but also like maybe you're going through stuff that like that's you're kind of splitting people up who are defending you still and others who are like criticizing, and valid points on both sides, but it's just kind of like he's human and maybe he's going through stuff. So it's just like I can still appreciate things he said before, criticize things now, and appreciate other things he says now. So
This thing like I did think a lot of people putting Peterson on a pedestal was really strange because like not everything he said was like golden even when he had more
right.
control over his emotions. And it's like no, he's got a lot of really good information, a lot of really good advice. I 100% agree with that. I actually disagree with his number one thing everyone says, which is make your bed. And there's scientific reasons behind why I say you shouldn't fucking do it.
Oh, that's interesting.
when you are in bed all night, you are putting off a lot of moisture and heat that is being trapped by the
Oh, you mean in
bedding,
the literal sense?
like literal.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. I thought he was more figurative about make your bed.
He is somewhat figurative, but a lot of people think it also means make your bed.
Oh,
You
I
know, like,
rarely
and a
ever
lot of
do.
people do believe that making your bed is a sign that you're like more in control of your life. The problem with that is that if you get out of bed after you've put off all that heat and moisture that was trapped in there, and then you make your bed immediately, you're trapping that moisture and heat in there, and all it's doing is turning your bed into a bacterial petri dish.
Mm-hmm.
But you, at the very least, leave your bed like unmade with your blankets and sheets thrown back for an hour so that it
Oh.
dries out and that heat dissipates.
Okay.
Like, so my reasoning isn't
I do
that.
the first step.
Yes,
of
yes.
that.
Just throw. I don't make my bed.
And then I go
Okay?
back to sleep at night. And then I'm like, oh, it's already folded out there. And then I just pull it back over me.
Exactly. But yeah, it's actually, you're decreasing the likelihood of you developing an illness when you don't make your bed.
Oh, and I can
I know
then
that
I can
sounds
vouch for
weird.
that. I don't get sick and I don't make my bed.
Like, like, it's kind of funny when I learned that. I was like, okay, I won't make my bed. That sounds accurate to me.
I'm
The
frightened to go to
science I've read
sleep.
on it makes sense. So I'm like, yeah, I'm not gonna make my bed. And that's the thing too, is that, like,
Bacterial
it's
petri
not as if
dish.
there's not other ways to take care of your life, you know? That's just one I don't think you
Yeah.
should do.
If he means like figuratively, I do understand. Like I do believe in if you're trying to like help other people though, and you're not like put together and you're like stretching yourself thin trying to help someone else, like you're not gonna help them very well, and you're hurting, so you're gonna kind of hurt both of you. And so I do believe that like I mean, it depends on the person and the situation. But like if I've had to say that to people, my friends and stuff too, where it's just like, no, like you don't feel guilty that you can't help this other person right now because you're having to like figure out yourself and like get yourself put together though. Like it's not fair to them, it's not fair to you. So like just trying to like relieve the feeling of blame on them for that. So, but maybe that's not exactly what he meant. That's how I always kind of take to, like, you just kind of have to have yourself more filled up before you can kind of like pour stuff into other things that you're doing or other people.
Yeah, I think right now he's not in control enough of himself to be giving out a lot of advice. Like,
Yeah.
I like the guy and everything, and I feel bad for him, but right now it seems like to me he is spiraling on his anxiety disorder because he has no habitual methods of controlling his anxiety. So
Yeah.
it is rampant in him right now, and it makes me feel sorry for him more than anything. But the problem with as well is that everybody listens to this guy and thinks he's brilliant, and it's like, he's not always brilliant. Okay, he's not brilliant right now. He's clearly not in control of his emotions, and he's allowing his demons, as he loves to typify it, like, run rampant right now. And like, I would just like for him to get a handle on himself. I'm
Yeah.
like, mainly, like, a big part of it is the fact that he has such a huge impact on people.
Oh yeah,
You
yeah. So
know,
then you need to be more careful, like if you be more self-aware that if you know you have a big following and people who it's a great power comes great responsibility kind of thing though too though. So just like recognizing that, and that people aren't all going to be aware enough of themselves to say like, I shouldn't idealize you.
well, you shouldn't idealize
I,
anyone. Like, unless
yeah,
you're religious, and then you should idealize your deity.
yeah,
Like,
right.
otherwise, like, no.
Idealize, idolize,
Certainly,
both of those.
yeah.
I keep saying, well,
Don't idolize human beings. They're not
yeah,
perfect. Not a single one of
absolutely.
them.
There was also was someone. Oh, sorry, unrelated, but Judge Law asked if I had heard from G-Man lately. He was the other person I wanted to reach out to because I haven't seen him like in unsafe space stuff or around here, like Discord and things. So no, I have not. So you
I've
should.
not seen him on my streams either
Really?
lately. So
Okay.
no, I
I
haven't.
should text him. I'm going to text him now. Actually.
Johnny Boy Quidra says the bed thing sounds similar to wearing a mask all day on your mouth. And it is actually similar because you're rebreathing a lot of heat and moisture that is probably laden with bacteria, and putting it on the inside of the mask and letting that bacteria grow and grow and grow. I don't know. It's like there's a lot.
Yeah.
Sanitation is not like about wearing a mask all the time. I don't understand that attitude.
Yes, and because you're just breathing in the spit and all over your face. Like, oh, I mean, I haven't even worn one in such a long time, so bad memories.
I wear them when I work on my front yard because they protect me from inhaling pollen.
I think if you have, I think that's a legitimate reason. I can't breathe. Like my big problem early on too is that like it makes me like when I hyperventilate, like I start to like have panic attacks though because I can't breathe in warm air and it like covering my nose and mouth. It freaks me out. So like what I would have to, because I would go indoors in places in Chicago and I could only be there for like 5 minutes. Like I have to go outside to take like to breathe though. Like I'm gonna pass out. So it was like not good. And
it was never a good idea here in the summertime because it's too hot. Too many people were passing out.
Really? They actually did. Wow. And then I'm sorry. When you like see that happening, like, no, masks are totally fine. No problems here. Like, and people are literally dropping.
I know.
Around, like,
there was a video of a girl running track in high school while wearing a mask, and she passed out because you're not getting as much oxygen as you would if you weren't wearing a mask. That's just obvious. I don't know. I don't like wearing them unless I'm protecting myself from pollen because which is an actual like trigger for asthma for me. So, like I have asthma attacks every once in a while, and trust me when I say this, wearing a mask does not make that better. Like unless I am literally blocking out
harder to breathe.
Yeah, I know. Unless I'm like literally blocking out something that could possibly trigger an asthma attack, I shouldn't be wearing a mask. Like
this and wearing a mask while running track is powerful. Stupid. So in the one anime, Fruits Basket, there was an episode where the one girl, she was sick. She had a cold. You know, in Japan, like they'll wear masks to kind of like, oh, I'm sick, so I'm going to wear this to not sneeze on people. So she had that, and they were like going to play badminton or tennis or something, and so she was saying how either she like something about like she wasn't going to, or that when she was playing, it was like, oh, it's harder to breathe because I'm wearing this mask. That like this is way pre-coof times. And like even then, they could acknowledge, yes, having something over top of your nose and mouth is going to like make breathing, especially during the times when you're going to need to breathe harder, like exercise and stuff too. Like that's going to make it difficult. And I just thought that like, wow. And I was watching that I think in the last couple of years too. I'm like, oh, see, they knew this beforehand.
Yeah, that was the thing. One of the reasons why people were passing out here is because you sweat, and the sweat like forms like basically the same thing that they would do to waterboard people.
Oh.
So it's the moisture seals the mask, so it has no like it has less airflow.
That's kind of hilarious. I feel bad for him, but that's all, like just the whole thing is so retarded that it's hilarious.
I know, it's so dumb. Well, I've had people in doctors' offices tell me to wear a mask, and what I want to do is go to a library and print out every fucking study that shows how masks don't, prevent the spread of viruses, and just give that to them. Here's all the research. Fucking read it, like, because it drives me crazy. And that's the thing too, is that like a lot of people were like, you have to trust medical professionals. I didn't trust medical professionals before all this happened. too many times they fucked up with
Mhm.
so it's like, why would I trust them suddenly? They're human beings. Like they're not infallible gods, just because they have an RN after their name or whatever. Like they're not perfect, and most of them don't read the research at all. So why would I trust their opinion? Like they already screw up years ago. Like medical mistakes is like number 3 cause of death in the United States or something like that. So clearly they're not good at their jobs if it's number 3. It's so crazy how people are like, we have to trust them. I just don't get it.
Yes. No, I 100% agree. Like I mean, I've mentioned a few times too. It's just like, oh yeah, the medical professionals I've seen, or I'm like, I'm gonna get. That's why people get second opinions, because they're also opinions that like you don't know. Like Western medicine treats symptoms, and you're kind of guessing on stuff with like, oh, maybe this is the problem here. Let's try to adjust this, or maybe it's like they don't know. You have to keep testing things out to see if things get better. That's what with Elsie, they have to test different antibiotics. Like maybe one of these things will work. We don't know. Like we have to keep trying until she stops peeing on everything around the Christmas tree and stuff.
Oh,
But on good news though, unrelated though, but to Judge Lot, G-Man is okay. He did text me back. For personal reasons, he hasn't been around live, but they're good personal reasons, and he's visiting family right now. So, but he hasn't been around for live streams though because of he's doing okay.
Okay, good. I had a couple of people like disappear, like who I'd seen like every day, every live stream, who played video games with me too, and they disappeared, and I've never heard of them again. Like they're just gone.
I'm not good with that. I'm not good with people just disappearing. Like when we kind of like fade away and stuff, that's all right. But like hard disappearances, my one friend that we grew up with, like sort of 4 of us, 3 of us, she went to Ohio and then disappeared for like, she stopped answering, like we couldn't get a hold of her for like 2 years. So, but I found her address, and like I'd written letters to her too. Like, so like that was the only way that I could like contact her was through snail mail. And then at one point we were like, let's go visit her. So we drove 2 hours. But then we kind of got some closure in a way, and but because we went to dinner and stuff too. But it was just like, yeah, we know this is super awkward, but like we were all like worried about her because we just like we grew up with her, and she just like went MIA, and so I'm not good at that. But anyway, yeah. What else do I have? So I'm glad that we didn't just watch Santa Claus, that movie from, what was it, 1959, the Mexican children's film from 1959, Santa Claus. I'm so glad it was through the Mystery Science, because I also know that they like edit things down too. So I'm glad I didn't have to experience the whole thing. But actually, one thing I wanted to say in Guardians too was that the Santa movie that Kevin Bacon was watching, I think was one that I suggested, was like, hey, here's a sci-fi Santa movie.
That's also a Mystery Science Theater 3000. They did that one too. So like I thought that was really funny. I was like, wow, that's
what
hilarious.
A coincidence. Yeah, I loved it. Not as big a coincidence as Jay from AT&T being from California, half Filipino, and his mom's from Chicago, and talk to me. But but in Mystery Science Theater, that episode, I liked they mentioned something about the savings bond, like he gave I forget the bad guys' names, Frank from TV, what was it, like something like that. I think that's his name. TV's Frank. And then the scientist guy, but like he didn't have a present, so he gave him like a $50, $25 savings bond that will mature by 2023. And I was like, that's almost now. Like this is a good time to like watch this. Like 2023 is only like a week away. So
and it had his name on it, and he was like, oh, I guess it'll be worth more. And he's like, well, $25.
$25. Yeah.
I love that episode so much of Mystery Science Theater 3000. That's why I suggested it. And one of the reasons why I love it is because this is an old episode, because they're still kind of around, and they had a
They have
Netflix run
riff tracks
recently,
too.
and now they have riff tracks. Yeah,
I
but
thought they
like
did riff tracks and then came back with MST. I thought like they
I'm not
kind of it was
I'm
like
not
a
sure what like the order on that, but
okay.
yeah, one of the reasons why I like this episode is because of their inclusive Christmas song. It
Oh yeah.
it kills me because they're making fun of this political correctness, like inclusivity bullshit,
Mm-hmm.
and they did it so long ago. Like it was so long ago that they made these jokes. The one of my favorite, I had to watch it several times because I like the beginning when they are singing and then he knocks over the hot chocolate on a crow. Like I had to watch it several times to like see what really happened because I kept missing it and all of a sudden they're all just screaming.
I think I missed it too. He not because he hit it. Oh, just knocking it
Yeah,
over. Okay.
Joel knocked over the thermos of hot chocolate onto Crow,
Wait, it's
and then
this episode.
this episode,
So it's
and then like
Mike, not Joel.
Mike.
This
Yeah,
is the
you're
new
right. It was
guy.
Mike. Yeah, in fact, this is an episode not long after
Right, because
they
he
switched
I was
because
reading
Gypsy had the Joiky sweater.
Joy,
She
which was funny because I was thinking like that's a line that stuck out to me. I was thinking about that before I got to that line. I didn't realize it was from this. I've seen this episode before in the past too, but I didn't realize it was from this one. I just remember, and I think they've referenced it a couple of times. Where like, oh yeah, the other guy, and they only ever refer to Joel as the other guy. Like, oh, I started this sweater for the other guy, and then so
yeah,
it's a Joike for Joel
yeah.
and Mike. So I just thought, I don't know I don't know if there was drama because Joel was the creator of the show, right? Like he
Yeah, and Mike was one of the major writers. What
writers.
happened
Mhm.
is that Joel didn't like performing that much.
Oh, okay. So it was just he didn't want to be on air
Yeah, he didn't
anymore.
want to really be on the show. Like
Okay.
and honestly, his episodes are not as good as Mike's. Like that's pretty. Like I think that's pretty
You didn't think
obvious.
Joel's were as good as Mike's? Interesting,
No,
because there's
Joel's
a lot
no.
of
It
criticism.
like Crow and Tom are amazing in those episodes still, but Joel's delivery of his lines he's never 100% committed to it.
Okay.
And that's my like and it's clear he's not really enjoying himself.
Yeah.
So like
I haven't
that's
seen anything in so long, so I need to rewatch it and hear.
so like I don't like honestly I think switching to Mike was the smart decision because Mike does do a better job on camera than Joel did.
But it's always so hard, like when even though it's like, oh, they were kind of like the same person effectively. It was an easy enough replacement, but people have that attachment though too. So like the fans were like upset. Like you had people who would compare them and stuff, or like the show. I think when I was reading, like the ratings went way down afterward and stuff because it's just like well, people like it for the personality, like they like it for that which is the thing that I've told Carter so many times on safe space things, like people are watching the shows for the people. It's not just the show itself.
No, it's not the content, it's the people.
Yeah,
but like I liked Joel, but I never like I just have to say like I don't think he was performing as well as he could have been, or maybe that was his best performance. I don't know.
Yeah. You just wanted it to be better.
Yeah, I just wanted it to be better. That's true.
Hate
But,
Your
like,
State also says Joel had conflict with producer Jim Mallon. I don't know the producer. Hello, Hate Your State.
Yeah, I don't know. Like I just think Mike was better. I get the whole personality like attaching thing, but I was always attached to Crow. So like it wasn't like losing Joel wasn't that big of a deal to me because I loved Crow. Crow was my favorite character.
If they get rid of,
I didn't give a shit.
That's how I was thinking about that recently with like certain like musical groups and stuff too, where it's like Zebrahead is the main one that I'm thinking of, and I don't think anyone knows that band but me. But they've had like a couple different lead singer, and I'm behind on the albums that I own. I know like they've got a third lead singer now. And the first time when the guy, like I think he was one of the founders, and they decided like he wanted to kind of go into a more mainstreamy sort of thing. I think wanted to be like a sort of, was it the Killers or something, like kind of a vibe like that. And they went, and Zebrahead is like punk, rap, metal, ska, and so they kind of have like a blend of different things over the years. And I was like, oh, when they switched lead singers, like, no, the voices are kind of similar, and I was okay. Like, I still liked it. Like, the guy was good at writing, and I haven't heard what the new lead singers like though, and what music, so I'm still behind. But when they were like, do we both times, like, do we disband or do we continue with the band as is now and just get a new singer? And my thought was, it's the rapper. I forget his name, is Ali Tatanabe or something. And I'm like, if he left, then it wouldn't be the same for, but like there are just certain people and things where I'm like, that one matters to me. Like anyone else can be replaced, but like you are the important one here. And like for me, it was the rapper, and like he really just kind of like blended the songs in for me. So I think that's the way, like for certain shows too, where it's just like, okay, you can kind of replace someone, either like the character or the actor or whatever, and I might be okay. It might not be this, I might not like it as much, but like I can still be okay with it. But like certain ones where it's just like, no, if you're gone, like Criminal Minds, Matthew Gray Gubler didn't return to the new Criminal Minds, and I'm just kind of like, I don't need to watch it.
Yeah. You made me think of a bunch of bands that had to change singers or did change singers. AC/DC is one, because their first singer actually died.
Oh yeah.
And then
Journey.
Yeah.
They're doing well. He's like a Filipino guy. Like the Filipinos, they karaoke down there, so like that's all they do.
I know Steve Walsh left Kansas and started his own band, or he like went solo or whatever, and that kind of sucked to me, because I'm like, okay, your voice was so fucking beautiful and Kansas was amazing. You kind of ruined Kansas.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think his freaking career took off. And then like Steve Page left Bare Naked Ladies. The thing is though about that is that Bare Naked Ladies was a group of singers, like really. Mm-hmm. You know, like
I love 1 Week, but I never listened to that much. I did hear a Christmas song of them that I didn't realize it was like a weird, I forget what it was.
Christmas album.
But like whatever played on Pandora was just like, oh, this is it was like a fun.
I've seen Bare Naked Ladies in concert twice.
Really?
I went to the Gordon tour, and oh god, I can't remember what the. Oh, I went to the 1 Week tour. Actually, I did.
I love all those lyrics. And 1 Week and Your Horoscope for Today by Weird Al, like those are like when you squeeze in just a bunch of lyrics into a song. Yeah. Those are my favorites. So if I were willing to sing, then those would be karaoke songs.
There was another band that I thought of that changed singers, or their singer left. I can't remember what it was though. But yeah, Bare Naked Ladies, I love that band. I have always loved that band. Obviously. And then yeah, I've been to a lot of Kansas concerts. Way more than someone my age should have been to. But yeah, I do think it sucks when singers are like, I'm gonna go my own way, and
and then it never ends up working that well for them.
It's like you never take off as a soloist, so stop it. When are you guys gonna figure this out? Like you're never as big as the band. The only person who can do that is Eric Clapton. He's the only one who's ever been able to fucking change bands like he's changing clothes.
But then it's like people, unless when they go, it's like when they start a new band, it doesn't work out as much. But like when you go solo, I think that ends up giving you a chance sometimes. Because like going from Cream to just Eric Clapton, right? I think it was the other.
Well, he did. He was also in the Yardbirds.
Was that after? I don't remember which.
Derek and the Dominoes. Like he's had so many bands. Like it's insane.
Which was the one that he went right before he went, like when he became like solo?
Sure.
Was it Yardbirds? I thought Yardbirds was. I thought Cream was the last. In ninth grade, I did I think it was an autobiography. So we had to do like a biography presentation for him, and I read his book. And I learned that he found out at 9 years old that his sister was actually his mom, and his parents were actually his grandparents. So that would have been very jarring. And then his sister mom moved to Canada with her Air Force husband or something, though. So, but that always stuck out to me.
His book is him and Slash's books are both really like reading a war memoir, because like every other chapter someone dies. Like it's so terrible. You're like, oh my god. Like Eric Clapton had bought a guitar for Jimi Hendrix and was gonna give it to he missed seeing him. And then he was like going to see him the next day, and that's when he found out that Hendrix died the night before. And it's like, God, like it's just so. There's so many stories like that.
Guitar.
I know. He probably kept
it. What was Phil Collins in?
Genesis.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
I don't know Genesis as well.
Oh, I guess the Police. Freaking Sting went off on his own.
Oh yeah.
I hate Beyonce because that woman.
I mean,
so annoying.
Really, is she like whether I don't listen to her music or anything, but regardless of that, she is super famous on her own.
She steals dance choreography from European and Asian stars.
Really, is that necessarily? I mean, like, is it stealing or like is she? How do you do that? Like, well, what if they're good dance moves and you're like, oh, I want to incorporate these. They are great. Like
choreography is like any art form. You have to design it essentially, and she basically steals like sequences from people without crediting them. Which that's the thing.
So I guess if you credit it, then
it wouldn't. I wouldn't consider it that big a deal. But she's like, she literally has like. No, choreography credits are not given to these people. You can watch videos from these European and Asian artists that no one's ever heard of in America, where they're see the dance and then they show Beyonce's like music video, and it's almost exactly the fucking same.
Do you think she's the one who's doing it, or like her, whatever?
I don't know about
handlers and stuff.
Who's responsible?
I'm just wondering, like, if she knows, or like, oh, someone is doing the choreography for me, and I don't pay attention to like who's doing it. You just like
that. I don't know, but it pisses me off.
Well, so I was wondering, like, I would think I'm going to be a little bit more forgiving for her personally if she's not the one. Like, if she just has no idea.
If she has no idea, like that's the problem though, is that people have brought it up like all the
time. Oh, so like there's enough people who have probably like that it should have gotten to her at some point to say like, hey,
to tell her if she and she keeps doing it. So to my mind, that means that either she doesn't give a shit. It's
no longer ignorant.
Yeah, because it's been going on for years. So this is not a new thing, and I'm sure people have told her like constantly. Mm-hmm. The thing is, though, the press won't ever ask her about it in interviews and stuff because they don't want to lose access to her, which I think is so fucking pathetic. But yeah, like I'm not a huge fan of dance or anything, but I do think it's kind of a shitty thing to do,
Yeah.
It's still someone's art form.
Yeah, I think I think it's totally fine if you're like crediting them though, because it's just like I really like this move and I want to do, or like just certain. I don't know. I'm trying to think back of like I guess I made up. We would do like the stupid dances and high school talent show stuff though. Like so, I just came up with a bunch of like crazy things. Wasn't copying anyone else. It was just like it would be like doing whatever like weird moves that were going to be pelvic thrusting. Yeah, we did. But I don't listen to her music. I think the Lemonade or whatever like songs that I've like specifically gone on my way to listen to, it's just like this is not my style of music, so I'm not interested.
I'm not interested at all. So yeah, I don't care.
But back to Mystery Science Theater. and Santa Claus. I'm trying to think if there are other things. The movie itself was awful, obviously because it's being talked about in MST. But I like when when Santa's like looking in, like, why is Earth so far? Like, what are there aliens now? Because I just didn't realize like where they were located. Because like looking at his binoculars or something and zooming in, and they like, who was it, Crow or Tom Servo was saying so, like, oh, you really? He's like, oh, they looks like she's in Mexico, and he was like zooming
the
in.
one kid is all like, yeah, I found her.
Yeah.
And like
he looks at it.
Then they show it. It's just
the full planet, like really zoomed in there.
Yeah, you really zeroed in on her. Oh god!
But I was just like, where? And then later on, he was on like a cloud, like a floating island cloud or something, though. And so it's just like, okay, so you're not in outer space. You're supposed to be like, why was Earth still so far away? And then he almost hits the moon when like, but you're in like a cloud area, like you're part of the atmosphere here. How are you almost hitting the moon? Why did you fly up that?
One of my favorite parts of the whole thing, though, is when the devil is trying to convince Lupita to steal, and the narrator is going, "Don't do it, Lupita! Don't do it!" And like the classic struggle between evil and the narrator.
Yeah.
Dying. I love this episode because the jokes are just on point. They really nail it. I love this one. Although every time the narrator says pitch, I think I hear bitch.
Like, nice try, bitch.
Exactly.
Yeah, every time. And I feel like the first time I'd seen that was the same issue too. Like, why are they saying this? I do love when it comes to like comedies and narrators. I did that in like 7th grade when I wrote, my friend and I were writing some sort of play or something, but it was just like the meta parts of it. Like the narrator says like, oh, and the two heroes decide to go off to like on their adventure. And then one of the hero, like the dialogue is, we're off on an adventure. So like whatever, or when you just kind of layer over it and like make fun of like the fact that there is a narrator in existence. And so that's always been something like since I was 12 that I'm like, yeah, let's incorporate the narrator into this. Did MJ use some of James Brown's moves? That's why I figure that like probably all kinds of, people do incorporate music and dance moves.
Having like one dance move that someone created in your choreography to me is not a big deal. It's especially Go ahead.
I was just gonna say if like the move, like you even if it's one move, someone else could have thought the same thing. Like there are only so many things that your body's gonna do. So like maybe there's a chance that like out of the millions of people, they might have come up with a similar thing.
It's when you take like 5 moves in a row and they're exactly the same, that's when you're stealing choreography. Because choreography isn't a single dance move, it's a sequence of dance moves.
Right. And it's music too, like stealing a note or something, like, or like a couple notes. Like you might not notice it, but when you have like, oh, here's like 4 notes in this particular order, and like, well, now you're like sampling it, and then there's copyright things that you have to, figure out too. That not just the music that explains his hair. Okay. Yeah, I'm trying to think of like other music and things though too. Who else has been known for like stealing or trying to think of another medium or art medium
of stealing? Janet Daly stole from other romance novelists.
What is Janet Daly write?
Romance novels.
I mean, like, is there a specific series that she's known for, or is it just a bunch?
She wrote the Americana series, so like every book was in a different state and showed the history of the state. Those were the books she actually wrote, but she also had some other books that those ones were stolen. She stole some shit from Danielle Steele. She lost her home.
Oh, really? How can you?
She had this huge house in Branson that she like paid for with all her book sales, but then like people found whole paragraphs in some of her novels were from other writers.
Are they like
And
literally copy paste, or was it like
yep,
paraphrased at least?
copy
Why would you
paste.
not even? Because I was
Well, and
gonna
that's the
say
thing.
like,
Romance readers read all
yeah,
romance novels. Like
but
they're gonna fucking pick up on
I was gonna
that.
say though too, like it would have to be very prominent because it's like romance. There's only so many. Like you've got like a structure that you're gonna follow in most cases, though, and like you can switch some stuff up. But like having watched so many Christmas movies and things, like you know, like the kind of there are things to hit. So I was just wondering, like, how is she? How would you know that she really stole versus like, oh, or did they just come up with similar plot lines because they're all going to be the same to some extent? But if you're
plot
copy
lines
pasting,
wise, Plotline wise, romance novels have like 15 plots, within their subgenres each. So there's no way that that is ever stolen because it's like
mm-hmm.
there's only so
Yeah,
many ways you can get people together,
yeah, exactly.
But then when she literally stole actual prose from.
That's crazy to just steal. I mean, like to not even paraphrase.
I know, it was really dumb. She like changed names, to match her characters, but like
Yeah.
everything else is the fucking same. And like, in fact, I heard it was in some cases whole chapters.
Wow. Because that's
Yeah, it
what
was
like
really dumb.
when I have to write stuff, sometimes I get worried about like, well, like here's just some basic information that I have to like put into the paper though, and so I'm just like still trying to like reword it a little bit. So even though like even if it's not a big deal, it's just like here are the notes or how the statement was done. But I'm like, if I can't quote stuff, I usually just prefer quoting like people or something directly too. Though, like I'll like just throw in some quotation marks and then I'm safe. Um, but other times, like yeah, because sometimes I struggle where I'm just like, well, I mean, just try and reword this. Now I'm like they worded it well. I had to change up how like switch up the structure, and now I sound stupid, but at least I'm like not trying to like
Stealing.
yeah. I don't want to plagiarize it, but then I always get worried about that too. I'm like, that might be too close, but I don't know.
I once taught a student for plagiarism. They plagiarized from one of those websites that sells papers for kids. And the thing is,
Oh yeah.
those and the girl was smart about how she responded when I pointed out that it was plagiarism, which I had to report her. Um, it's about academic integrity and everything. She never admitted it,
Oh.
even though it was word for word. She never copped to it, which was the smart thing to do at that point. But it was a black mark on her academic record that she plagiarized because there was proof. There's nothing like, like I found it, it was there. I had to tell my boss and everything. And I taught composition. So it's not like this was a paper for a class that wasn't about writing papers. The fucking class was about writing papers. So her not writing the paper was a big deal. It's like,
Yeah, like the point would be
like if it was a science class and she didn't write her own paper, it's not as big a deal. Or like an art history class or whatever. But no, the class is literally write papers.
yeah. Because then you're just like not learn. Like here's the practice to it though. Like, did you not learn anything? Did you not like what was the reason behind doing this? Why take this class if you're not going to want to write on your own either? Like even if it's required, then but of whatever you're doing, like doesn't that mean you might need it for I don't know for
it was a required course for all students. So
okay. So maybe she wasn't a writer.
She probably wasn't, but the point of composition classes in most universities is the fact that you're going to write papers in your major. Like you're going to do it. So they're like, we want to make sure everyone has the base level of skills in writing papers because they're going to write paper.
And that's what we've talked about before, like with me proofreading on safe space stuff too, because MLA and like now I haven't used MLA, and so we do CMOS or AP style, and I just do a blend of things. But like MLA, I haven't even looked at, and so it's so funny to see like, oh, here are these like differences that we have and how we write. But yeah, like I think at least at the very least learning basic writing skills for life, for like jobs and stuff too, though. Like I get if you're learning it to write papers for other classes, but I went to, it was an art school, but it was more like a technical school. So like the gen ed classes that they had, it was more like understanding, like, okay, like, can you like write well enough in like your jobs, or like how like speech classes and stuff too, though. So it was useful, I thought. But I also was able to get away with not doing, I'm trying to remember like how many I got to do, like short paper, like essays or for certain things, but I never had to do like real papers there, because I just remember like my psychology classes, like everyone loved the instructor there, but she was like, I loved her, took her as many times as I could, but she would offer like, you can either do a 10-page paper or some sort of art project that represents the thing that you learned. And it was very wide open on like any kind of art thing at all. And it just, and she was like easily impressed by art stuff too, because she wasn't like one of the artists. But people chose to do the 10-page papers, and I was like, why? She's going to be way more critical on that. And then instead of just like, oh, look at this like cool art thing that you've done. So I got away with like, we did like film commercials for one psychology class. And then I've mentioned before that I've done like multiple puppet shows for like psychology and children's literature classes and things. Like those are my final projects were puppet shows for my classes.
I mean, I was an English major, so I wrote a lot of papers.
Yeah.
And then I was an English creative writing major, so I wrote a lot of short stories and poems as well. So my college career was almost entirely writing, but I like writing, so it wasn't.
Oh, I wrote a lot too. I wrote like scripts and things, though. I wrote like one of the puppet shows were plays, like that I wrote those things. I combined, for children's literature, we had to read The Water Baby, we read Peter Pan, we read, I forget, like multiple other things. And I brought in those characters, made them into puppets, wrote a thing about a princess that was going to get married. The boy got kidnapped by a witch. And so she had to go through a journey of like going to save him. And I played all the puppets that she had to go through. But like I wrote this whole play and stuff that we performed. But like I wrote just in different ways.
Yeah.
Papers.
I didn't mind writing papers though. Like I would write maybe 2 or 3 10 to 15 page papers a semester.
Oh, I hated research papers. My first one was in 5th grade. And I've hated research papers since then. I think I did mine on cheetahs. Yeah. We learned early. It was in the gifted program. So we did like that. So we had like the research paper in 5th grade. But like I remember making note cards and drawing little symbols to like say like this is what this like theme is on here, choose a here. But I don't know. Like, so then since then I was just like, I hated having to do one every year, because it was always just, you didn't get to have an opinion on it. You're just like saying, here's the information that I got from here and I'm rewording it into this thing.
I hate that as a research paper.
Yeah. And so then I'm like, why do I need to write this? Can I just give you like, here are the pages of the books that I'm citing here, like, so you can just read them. I don't need to write this paper. Just take these things.
Yeah, when I was in college, so I keep saying college because I was also in grad school, like, so I did both. The thing is that like, reason why I liked research papers is because it was like, pick literature or whatever, and decide on a thesis, like an opinion that you have, and try to support it. So it's like an argument. Essentially.
Yeah, so you have like persuasive papers and stuff like that.
Yeah, so like our research papers were actually always persuasive papers. Like,
yeah,
like we were always forming an argument. And one of my favorite things was to find papers that disagreed with me, instead of ones that agreed with me. I loved it when I had an opinion that most people didn't agree with, because then I felt like I was actually saying something new, as opposed to just regurgitating an opinion on literature that someone already had. Because I hated that. I was like, well, then I don't need to write this.
Mm-hmm.
Like, so yeah, but if I find something where I'm saying something new or different or whatever, and the thing is that most of these things I cited were just sections of a person's paper. It wasn't their thesis. Like their thesis wasn't actually counter to my thesis, but they had parts of their argument were counter to mine, essentially. And that, like, I loved that. I would print out something like 30 other research papers when I wrote a research paper and like pick like half of them to quote from. Sometimes I would quote just a single word, just to have the source. I'm like, I never would have thought of that word.
Although then you have to be careful when you see any. I'm not saying that happens on research papers and stuff. Might make more sense, but I always love seeing signs like, "Hey, over here has free pizza," or like, "We've got real food over here," where they like throw in quotation marks in like the worst way. Like, I think you just meant like to italicize or underline. Like when you.
I know. I hate that real.
I'm a like, doctor.
Yeah, yeah. It wasn't like that.
It's not emphasis, but I just think it's funny too. You gotta watch out.
Adjective, like describing something in whatever literature I was talking about. Mm-hmm. So, you know, those are already non-concrete concepts. Everything was basically abstract. Which, and that's the funny thing too, is that like the thing I hated the most about college, even though I went to grad school, is how seriously everyone takes it, and like I get
kind of pretentious.
I know. Well, the thing is, like they were like, this is so important. I'm like, is it? I would say that not being able to pay your rent is more important than whether or not you finish this paper. Mm-hmm. Like, like I was like, I don't know, perspective here. Do you have food on the table?
And then I'm like, am I wasting the money for the degree? Like, yeah, I just know people. Like, I'm so in debt with my multiple degrees and things, and it's just like, yeah. I still recommend too. Like, if you only going to college, if you really need at this point with just how woke everything is, especially, but like getting a degree, like if it's necessary, like doctorate or something that like, or whatever the career field that you want requires degrees in it, because so many don't now. Like I went for filmmaking. You really don't need, especially with the internet and stuff, you don't need that at all. Like you don't
need to go to college to learn how to write.
Right. Yeah. Like people, I know there's so many successful people for the degrees that we both have. You don't need a degree in that field.
You know what's funny though, what I found, like, because I went into the private, sector after college, is that most corporations who, if you're going to go white collar, want you to already have a degree. They don't, and like HR wants you to have a degree specific to whatever work you're applying to, which I think is stupid, because almost every job for corporations, you can learn how to do them there, because they're going to train you anyway. Like, what do you want specifically? No, there's no such thing as a turnkey employee, but that's how HR acts.
Latchkey employees.
Yeah.
They're running around on their own.
Yeah, they are. But the thing is, though, is that like a really good way of having like whatever degree and getting into corporate work is to go to a temp agency and get them to place you at a corporation, and then you basically just prove to them that you deserve a job.
Yeah. And like substitute teaching, you just need a degree. I think a bachelor degree too. That only doesn't matter what it's in. They just want you to have gone to college long enough. And I don't really know the reasoning behind it, but
different states have different rules on teaching. By the way, you need a teaching certificate in Arizona. I don't know how you get one, but I didn't want to teach. So
yeah.
Not kids. I didn't want to teach kids.
Kids suck.
I was like, I want to go back to fucking public school. Yeah.
Can I just talk for a second about, I went over to my aunt's house to teach her grandsons. So my cousin's kids, that they're both like 9-year-old boys, 2 of them. And I'm pretty mean to them. I've talked about how mean I am to children generally, but like, because we were there, what was it? The one kid, he's weird, and I always make fun of him because he forgets my name sometimes. But when he saw me, he's just like, "Hi, Beverly, like I remembered your name." So it's like, I'm really impressed by this. Like, but the other one, he's my other cousin's foster son too. Hopefully he'll be adopted if like things go through. It's just a long process because government. But so they were trying to teach him to decorate cookies, and they're a mess at stuff. And but I forget what he said. He made some sort of joke or something. He's like, "Oh, I got you," and I'm like, "Oh yeah, like look at how you did that." He's like, "Yeah, I'm smart." And I said, like, yeah, everyone else who called like everyone else was wrong when they were calling you stupid. It's just what I told him, but just like really straight face because I'm smart. Mm-hmm. I would have gone on to say stuff like, oh, like I defended you though. I knew you were smart, but like, well, everyone else just kept calling you an idiot. Like,
oh god.
I didn't get to, but like there were just multiple times where I was making my aunt laugh, but then like they're 9, and I'm like, I don't know, either gonna make them cry themselves to sleep, or they're not getting it at all, or like it's building. Like, yeah, we'll see how things are.
Oh my
in
god.
a couple of years, but so I'm just like I'm so like sarcastic to them and stuff. I think they don't get, from what I've noticed working with like middle schoolers and stuff, it's not till like 7th grade because 6th graders don't get it, but like 7th grade they will. But
well, that's when they start becoming more aware of how people perceive them.
Yeah, and I'm going to like perceive them really hard and let them know that I'm paying attention and comment on everything. There's something I think Mr. Drummer was talking about 15 minutes ago when you were talking about your plagiarizing students. Did she cite them? So did she at least cite, if I'm understanding correctly, did she cite that she stole it from the other? Like, you just put quotation marks around the entire paper and just say like, I quoted this from this paper.
No, it was her intro, like, which almost never has quotes in it, by the way, or references. And it wasn't even a very long paper, by the way. And yeah, it was definitely word for word, several sentences from a bought paper.
Great. Milli Vanilli. Why is Winky talking about Milli? They couldn't sing and we're number 1 around the world. Oh, okay. Gene sampling and gene copyright will become an issue when parents start making designer babies. Ooh, yeah. I'll get some eugenics going. Gene Stiller's 40K. 40 pages of cocks in the past. Yeah. Mr. Drummer is finishing his dissertation for a master's. Nightmare. I bet. I have no interest in going back to school. I have a BS degree. That's what I get to say because it's a Bachelor of Science. I went to an art school and they gave us Bachelor of Science degrees. Are we friends at IRL? It depends on. I like Winky's answer. No, they hate each other and sometimes meet on borders to throw rocks at each other. Yeah, which borders? We go like we go from one country to the other and then throw rocks from each border. I don't know Alex in real life. We talk off air sometimes, like not while she's sick and stuff, but
I was so miserable.
Yeah. And I would have been miserable. I don't want to talk to her. Oh, she's all sickly. She's going to get me sick through the internet. But we have not met in real life. Maybe during an unsafe space event or something someday. Like I think I was telling Juliet last week too that like when Carter said we probably won't have any like meetup this year, I've said like we can just do a camp. Everyone can come here and camp in my yard. I've got 6 acres of land. You just got to fight off some geese, but we could just have a camp out. What is that? Like Johnny Boy, you're a good friend and I like you. That's what Alex says to me all the time. I didn't think about that till now. Oh, Notre Dame's up to 80K per year. Ugh.
Ridiculous. It's not worth that.
Notre Dame. Rock throwing is an act of bonding and love. My friend is a competitive stone skipper too. So
I remember that.
I think I was wrong. I don't remember if he said like he won. He was at least second. I don't remember. I know the world champion at one point was like a Japanese guy or something that came to the area. Rumble is no longer working for me either. As far as I refreshed and now nothing's popped up because nothing was. So I don't know if people are over there. Sorry, hello. I don't know if the last thing I saw was Winky's thing. So maybe no one's over there.
I don't see anything over there.
Okay, then we're good. Well,
Let me
So this is Santa.
write something in there.
Oh, you see nothing, like literally nothing. Oh, yep, I see test. So it just like
Okay.
erased everything, but it stopped. I don't
It
know if
does, like, if
anyone
you
said.
refresh it, it erases the past chat. Like, what
I
the
wish
fuck?
yeah, it doesn't even save it afterward either, though. So like, hopefully Rumble will decide to add that feature in where you can like see the chats later. But yeah, whatever.
I do want to
Okay.
say, I know we haven't talked about it, but like you had mentioned, we should watch Scrooged, and I did watch it.
Oh yeah,
and it's
yeah.
the first time I actually watched it. Like, I'd seen scenes from it, like, a lot.
I think the
And
same. I think I haven't seen the full movie either, actually.
like, I actually watched the whole movie, and there's this moment where it's so funny because he like the movie makes no sense, but there's this point where he like sees a waiter and he thinks the waiter's on fire and the waiter is not on fire, and he throws a bunch of water on the waiter to save him, but at the same time he's trying to seem like he's not insane, and it's a really weird sequence. And then afterwards he falls on his way out of the restaurant, like, and you can see Bill Murray's feet as he falls. Apparently that fall was unscripted. And it wasn't planned by Bill Murray, like, in the moment. He literally just fucking fell because there was water on the ground.
That's hilarious. Oh, okay. Well,
Yeah.
maybe I don't even know. We don't have anything for next week. It's like an extra week anyway, right? So there's a theme. So maybe we can do. Yeah, maybe we can do Scrooge for. It's still December, so even though Christmas is past, we can still do that. I always mix up Scrooge and Groundhog Day though too. So like then I'm just like my brain mixes up stuff. But yeah, maybe I'll try watching that. Maybe we could talk about that next week or whatever other. If anyone else has Christmas stuff, like it's a free for all. Next Thursday.
Want to suggest my favorite Christmas movie, which is not new, by the way. While You Were Sleeping.
I've never seen that one.
Because I like rom-coms, and so many of them take place around Christmas, and it's usually on Disney Plus.
Sandra Bullock. Okay. I need to post this in the Discord then because I will forget. Thursdays. While You Were Sleeping. Scrooged. Yeah. If anyone else, Bill Murray fell because Coke. Musical. Anything. So again, nothing tomorrow on here, this channel. Alex, have you got any, or on Rumble either?
I am doing a Destiny 2 live stream in the middle of the day, and then I have the Evil Within. Yeah, and then the Evil Within for Fright 2. The Evil Within 2 for Fright Friday. Yeah, that's what I have planned tomorrow.
Okay. Is narrative dissonance happening? Or is there... I couldn't make it to the meeting Tuesday.
Remember if it is or not.
Good deal.
I came into the meeting late on Tuesday, so I don't remember what he said.
And you were sick, so you've got an excuse there too if you were not feeling well. Train platform at the beginning. Huh?
Yes, that is the movie I'm talking about, Mr. Drummer.
For While You Were Sleeping?
Mm-hmm. Oh, okay. She works as an L toll booth operator in Chicago.
In Chicago, the L. Okay.
Yep.
On the brown. Which line? Brown line? Red line?
I have no idea.
Wow. Call it the loop. If you're on the brown line and going downtown, it's the loop.
It's from 1995, so I don't know if I imagine the L has changed since 1995.
I mean, the maps that they had inside the trains looked really, I mean, like in the seats and stuff in there looked like they were old. Like some of it too. It was like this was totally 90s or 70s or something. So Elsie, why are you freaking? You're already 8. Both cats are just
I heard her.
I need to give her medicine too because she puked this morning. So I think her antibiotics didn't even work this morning because I like she ate a little bit after that, and I don't know, like she threw it all up. She just does that. So it's like, well, this is probably starting over with antibiotics tonight then, because you're just like not keeping it in, except you're peeing everywhere. Merry Christmas to us. Yeah, okay, so Alex has the 2 streams tomorrow. We don't know about the unsafe space ones. No stream on my Rumble tomorrow. We're gonna take a break, occasional levity. I'm gonna be eating lots of cookies and things. That's why I have to go finish decorating these cookies now too.
I have to go put up my pot roast.
Yeah, so we got food stuff to do. So JDA, we were looking at like $1,000 meal at whatever restaurant or something that he went to in New York for his birthday, and he was telling me later that he's like, I'm surprised that like, I can talk about food and like not like, you know, people aren't leaving or they're not like losing interest and stuff. I'm like, I will care way more about food than I do like the drama of like all the people, because I'm just on there to like talk to them, but like he always talks about like various Comicsgate people. Like I don't care about, like I will not remember anyone's names. I will not remember who's who. Like I just don't care. But I am interested in seeing food and talking about that. And like I should have said too, like on our streams, we usually spend like half the show talking about food.
Yeah. Sorry, she was like looking up at you. Like,
Yeah.
so cute.
So upset. But her meow is just like the most grating sound. At least Corey, he's got like chirpy, like yeah, like
See this thing, I like Lily talks to me and she sounds like a little monkey and it's adorable.
yeah, Corey sounds like a bird.
Missy screams. Everything has
Yeah.
to be a top volume. It's like,
Yeah.
no.
That's what Corey just like.
Me. Yes, yeah. See, that's cute. Well, there's too much footage of me and Will and Missy like having screaming contests where I'm telling her to shut the fuck up.
Oh, Elsie when he, and then I've got the geese too. So then like Plop, he's so fun. Like just hearing him, because everyone else like Lemon Grab has like a honk 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 too. He's a honk honk honk. Hope, I thought Hope was weird because she'll go like honk, but Plop has high pitched. Like they're so high, and I thought Hope had terrible honking sounds, but Plop is just the worst. It's so funny coming out with this gigantic goose. I'm not good at weights, but he's at least 20 pounds. Oh
wow!
But he's so funny. He has these big feet that he keeps like sleeping. Was it last? I don't remember if I showed. Was it on this stream? Yeah, whatever it was when I was trying, like when he fell asleep on like on one leg on my leg. That was so hilarious. All right. Well, Merry Christmas, everyone. You're right about tabbies. I watched many videos of them and looks like they're vocal by default. And tabbies are a pattern though. Like that's it's the M makes them the like they've got like kind of stripes too. That's why Elsie is a calico and a tabby. Though she's got a calico print, but like the tabby pattern, and Corey has tabby too, so he's a gray tabby, but they both have the M, and you can like see it. I'm afraid to pick her up because she like scratches and stuff, but you could see like other calicos might just be like solid colors, but you can see like the lines and stuff through her. If I pick you up and you're not attacking, okay, no, never mind, I don't trust it.
She's looking at you.
Yeah.
But you like Missy is a tabby, and I've noticed this about tabbies. They like to chew on things and they like to talk.
Yeah.
Like Lily likes to talk too, but she's like a quiet talker. She's like and we have conversations, but it's like cute. She's like mostly just chatting at me. Except for when she wants food, because then she screams, but she's not even half as loud as Missy is ever. Like I'm like Lily is so quiet by comparison, even though she's like one of the chattiest cats I've ever had. And she's a Karat, so that's a Thai breed, and they hate other cats. They're very talkative, and they like to play fetch. They're very strange cats.
Corey, I would toss paper balls. He'll hop like 3 feet in the air. I haven't done it in a long time, but he'll catch them in his mouth or like spike them. He can hop.
Lily does this thing where if I put my hand against the wall, like it doesn't matter like what height I put it at.
Oh,
She
she'll
tries
try.
to grab
Yeah,
my
yeah.
wrist. She's like, she'll leap up and grab me.
I also like to say Corey has like a friend in the wall, like in the corners of any place that we live. His name's Raul, because then he'll just like sit and stare up there and go Raul, Raul, Raul forever.
That's
They're
cute.
so weird. Ugh, the cats are the worst and the best. I love them, but I hate them.
I know they're gross and mean.
Yeah,
and
they're always coming out on
adorable.
both ends and never in like good places. So I'm constantly having to scrub the floors and oh my gosh, I think I prefer the duck and goose poop and stuff to theirs. But yeah, Christmas poop. So Merry Christmas. Oh, they lick their bums. Yeah, that's true too, Winky. Like, and then they lick you.
They do. Yeah. Did you put up a Christmas tree? Because I know you have cats.
Oh yeah. Let me wait. I guess before we go, let me show the Christmas tree picture. It is what?
Like it's so close to Christmas. I was wondering.
Yeah, I was slow at it, but I finally got it up there. But and then Corey has knocked him down in the past, but and then he eats. We can't use like icicles and stuff but there were like other things. So he like still I saw some in his poop and I'm like gonna die. So I always get like gigantic ones. Our ceilings aren't high enough for my liking, but so we get wide ones, and that barely like our living room is so narrow, so it takes up like half of the living room. But I don't care because now I've got
I
so
haven't
many.
put up Christmas decorations since I moved from Kansas. Because I got rid of like almost everything I owned when I moved from Kansas to Arizona, and then like I just didn't have the money for years to buy any new decorations. It was like really tight, and then I got Lily, and I was like, I don't want to deal with the cat and a Christmas tree, like because I had a cat and a Christmas tree back in
they'll
Kansas.
knock over. I
Yeah,
can't hang things low.
No, you got to chase them away from it. Sometimes it's like sometimes they try to climb into it. Like I was like, I don't want to deal with this.
So like Christmas tree. Well, yeah.
I never got a new Christmas tree, and this place is too small for it. Like I don't have anywhere to put a Christmas tree. Honestly,
I make room. I'm just like I don't care. Things need to leave, so I can. We had to move another table that was a coffee table that was over there. Like nope, we're having this Christmas tree.
Maybe
but
if I did a dining table, it would make sense.
Yeah.
But my dining, I don't have a pantry either, so my dining table is actually my pantry. There's like food all over it.
The thing with ornaments, like I always just use baubles and stuff growing up, which I like them. But then the ginger, he's had like baby's first Christmas and stuff. He has ornaments from like every year of his life, and we've joked about how like a lot of times I might have more gifts or something from like my dad or whatever to me. So then when we're going through, like I open more. But for me, I'm decorating the tree and stuff, and I'm just like unwrapping all of the ornaments, and I'm like, one of these has to be mine, right? Like, because we started getting like our own. He and I will give like on Christmas Eve, we'll exchange ornaments now. But then I'm like, yeah, we got it. And every time, like, nope, still one of his. No, this one, we're getting down. Like, there are only a few left. It has to. Nope, still his. And, like, oh, and like so many of them, like where? And I couldn't find mine for a while. I'm like, how do I not have any now? I only had like 5 to begin with, and they're all gone. So, and he just has like 30 some. But it's a mixture of that, and but I like having like the personalized things. We've got ones that are like mine is of a goose, and his has like chickens, and we have like personalized and stuff, and so those are fun. Okay, well I have to redecorate the rest. I have to do like yellow and brown and black on the rest of these cookies because I do it in like assembly line. My aunt was like, oh, she has to do one cookie, like full cookie at a time. I'm like, I only have so many tips that I can use, so I have to like do one color on all of them and then like move on and assembly line it. So I have like 3 or so colors left that I have to do, and that's going to take me another few hours probably. And then I have to bake more stuff in the morning. So Have a good night, everyone. Thank you for watching. Thank you, Alex, and Merry Christmas to all, and to all a good night.
Yes. Merry Christmas.
I think that's it. And then we'll be back next week. And then it would be a New Year's Eve. Wait, New Year's Eve? Eve. Yeah, it'll be New Year's Eve. The next Thursday, but still Christmas. Today, what is this one? Christmas Eve. Yeah.
Yeah.
Merry Christmas Eve to all, and to all a good night. Oh, I keep forgetting. I still have not uploaded an end credits on this one. I have to change the occasional levity one, and then there's the end credits. All right. Goodbye.